That was weird. What's going on there? Oh, I've got it going on in the background. Whoops. I had the stream open. I was like, why is it playing it twice? How are we doing, everyone? 1 minute late, 2 minutes late. I forgot to add the stream key. We got here. We're live. We're direct. That was the worst intro to a show you're ever likely to see. But look, good morning, everybody. I'm here to talk through who had Monday evening down as the day that we're going to get leaks after Manchester United lost a game of football. It's predictable. Every single time the Man United lose a game, they come out in full force again. The players don't expect Erik ten Hag to be Manchester United manager this season. The players are now saying that Erik ten Hag has them running too much and he's the reason for all the injuries. Blah, de blah, de blah. We've been here before. We'll be here again in the next defeat. It will go away after the next victory. It will creep its head up above the surface again as soon as we lose a game. And the reason I'm speaking about it is because I think it just needs to be highlighted, called out for what it is, because that's how we will help United fans start looking at news differently and absorbing news differently. And I think that's the reason I'm going to be speaking about it this morning. Good morning to everybody. Who's here from the member gang? We've got Saeed. Good morning to you. Richard. We've got Michael, Tyler, Jasper, Kent. So many new names here. And I'll be honest, oh man, look at that. That's incredible. Gungshi, before the show even started today, dude, I hope these buttons work. I didn't try them before the show. Just realised that. Fingers crossed.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell.
And I'll be updating these hopefully by next week. I want to get some new ones in. I know I said I do, but I can't tell you how long my to-do list is every single day. There is always so much I never manage to get done. So those ones I really need to do. Kind of need some help with them. I just need some help everywhere, really. Good morning to you, Carl, Josh, and as always, and T, I saw you before the show. Who's here from Facebook? Danny, Steve, we've got Thomas, Musa, we've got Nafis, we've got Paul Pritchard, Robert Donovan, Lynn Alexander. Good morning to all of you. Regular faces, new faces. The community keeps growing. John, thanks for asking. How's the ankle? I slept on my side for the first time last night in 3 weeks. You know how annoying it is not to be able to sleep on your side? Very annoying. I haven't even had a shave. I'm all over the shop today. All over the shop. I keep not leaving myself enough time in the morning because it's just taking me a lot longer to do things. Well, that was a bit of a wild start to the show. My head was all over the place. Trying to sort things out with a lot of stuff, and I sometimes not give myself enough time before the show. It leaves me all flustered. But now I've calmed down. All right, we're here. Chris Ball, you've been a member for 30 months. Look at that. How you doing, man? Nice to see you. Now, to start the show, I just want to have a quick conversation about something that we knew was coming, but we've now had official confirmation about the actual structure of it, and that is the new format for not just the Champions League, the new format for European competitions from UEFA. Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League. All right? So I just want to run through this. I don't know if this gets shut down for copyright. This is hilarious. This is what the UEFA video said when they released it on the new format, the new setup. If you haven't seen it, it's only a minute long. All right, let me play it for you.
The 2024-25 season sees the start of an exciting new era for the UEFA Champions League, UEFA Europa League, and UEFA Conference League. Taking part in the competitions, though, remains open and based on sporting merit. From next season, the current 32-team group stage will be replaced by a league phase featuring 36 teams in each of UEFA's 3 men's club competitions. Each team will be drawn against 8 different opponents, 2 from each of the 4 seeding pots, playing 4 at home and 4 away. However, in the UEFA Conference League, each team plays only 6 opponents, 1 from each of the 6 seeding pots. Teams that finish in positions 1 to 8 qualify directly for the round of 16. Teams ranked 9 to 24 must face each other in the knockout playoff round to join the top 8 in the round of 16. Teams in positions 25 to 36 are eliminated from all competitions. In the knockout phase, all ties are contested home and away, culminating with a single-leg final. In the new league format, every match, every goal, every point, and
that's enough of that. Don't need to hear any more. What's your take on it? Because some people will be saying it is good change. There's more games. There's more variety. This is how UEFA will sell it, because the reason they are trying to do it is in their head, they're trying to eliminate pointless games towards the end of a group stage, which I don't think was ever a problem. There's always been trepidation. It's like they're trying to change the World Cup format and increase how many teams are in there, but the structure's perfect. Ultimately, this is just to make more money, okay? That is the bottom line of all of this. This is a money-orientated decision. The reason they are doing this is because they will create an extra 2 group stage games for every single team who plays. Therefore, more group stage games, more money, more revenue, win, win, win. That's the only reason they're doing it. It's not for the integrity of the competition. It's not to give more opportunity to any other team. It's simply money. So in that sense, it can't be changed for the sake of the game. It's changed for the sake of the pockets. And it's basically, it's kind of like semi like the Super League, isn't it? Right? I don't think that when the format comes in and it's in for a couple of years, I don't think people are going to be that deeply offended by it. But change for the sake of change without actually improving what they are changing is pointless. Right? Lloyd James, you've mentioned the super chat down there. I was so annoyed that they took away goals. I don't know whether I was in the minority, but I loved the away goals rule. It made you play different. It was a tactical thing that only existed in European competition that added a flavour and a seasoning that sometimes you'd have to go backs against the walls and you couldn't concede. Like, probably one of the greatest 2 legs that we've ever seen as United. Maybe not the greatest. It really was. Was it 2008? Barcelona. 0-0 at the Nou Camp. 1-0, Paul Scholes, that rocket. It was only 1 goal over 2 legs, but was it a boring game of football? No, it absolutely wasn't. It was just like a tactical game of chess, and it was incredible to watch. It didn't just need to be goals, goals, goals. I love the away goal rule. Lots of you down there in the comments agrees. This is just going to be another few games for footballers who are just, I mean, there's only so far that your body can go, right? There's only so far your body can go for these athletes. I know the professional athletes, it's their job. I know it's their job. But if you keep getting them to play so many games, and I think there's a new Club World Cup format starting, which I think has got prize money. You're looking at an increased amount of teams in the World Cup. You're looking at, when's the increased Euros? Has that already started? I can't even remember. They're just looking for more football absolutely everywhere, constantly, 24/7. Football, football, football. It's like the David Webb sketch. I don't think it was needed. But ultimately, UEFA wants more money. That's why it's in. That's the only reason it's been brought in. So in that sense, I just disagree with it. Now, I want to go to speak about, this isn't the headline of the show. The headline of the show I actually haven't got in here because a story came out just because of the timing of it. We're going to speak about the head of recruitment. Looks like Man United have chosen, well, there's a report suggesting that Man United have chosen who they want as head of recruitment. I'm going to speak about that next after Ashworth. Someone down there, DigiPros, I just left a channel dedicated to media gossip and players downing tools. It's all rubbish. Don't talk about it either. I'm going to be talking about it, dude, but I'm not speaking about it and then having a whole full conversation with you about what it says. I'm calling it out for what it is so that United fans can start to understand and see what news. Look, I can't tell you what news to absorb. I can't tell you what news you should be listening to and what you shouldn't be listening to. I can just give you advice. Because if you want to just bury your head in sand and you want to just look at a headline and you want to just read it as the truth and take it as the truth, then you can do that. And your opinion will be extremely manipulated by what the press want you to listen to. Whereas if you take a step back and you start spotting patterns and you spot who's reporting it and when it's been reported, then you start to go, okay, well, I can probably start deciphering what I should be listening to and what I shouldn't be listening to. Let's go through this, all right? Samuel Luckhurst, everyone's favourite. Who could possibly have predicted that he would come out with some sort of leak after United lost? I mean, apart from everybody. Apart from absolutely everybody, right? Some Manchester United players concerned about running demands under Erik ten Hag. There have been 47 separate cases of injury and illness, and we skip across to the Daily Mail. Man United stars believe Erik ten Hag's running demands are causing them injuries. United have suffered 47 separate injuries during this season. I mean, it's almost that. These two articles here, right? This is where you start spotting patterns between them, right? They're published a couple of hours apart. They've got pretty much the same headline and pretty much the same tagline. Like, it's almost like they've been sent a press release. This is what it kind of reads like. Manchester United players, of course they have concerns about running demands. I have concerns about Erik ten Hag's training techniques. It's not like this is anything new. It's just that did this article come out after Man United beat Forest 1-0 and went through to the FA Cup next round? No. No, it didn't. It came out after Man United lost to Man City, because that's the environment where an article like this will thrive. And that's something that people need to understand. That, unfortunately, when it comes to journalism, when it comes to this doesn't just apply to Manchester United, and doesn't just apply to football and sport. They will choose when they want to release an article, because the environment will absorb it more. The reason I'm saying this is this, right? We go over here. Let me pull this up here quickly, because that's not the only article that came out yesterday. We go Premier League. Perfect. Absolutely perfect, right? So, what happened yesterday, all right? Arsenal absolutely crushed Sheffield United. 6-0, probably should have been more. Looked like it was going to be 10-0 at half-time, 5-0. They took their foot off the gas. Absolutely flying. Top of the league. That's going to be the biggest story of today, isn't it? Incorrect. The biggest story for the Daily Mail has absolutely nothing to do with Arsenal winning 6-0 yesterday in their title chase. The top story for them is Manchester United players doubting whether Erik ten Hag will be in charge next season. Manchester United is the story. Always has been the story. And truth be told, the United People's TV might not exist if Manchester United weren't as global as we are. And I know that. So I'm not going to try and sit here saying pot kettle black, but I support my club. I follow my club. I try to objectively and subjectively, sometimes, cover all the news. But when it comes to the wider press, the wider media, boy, they use United like some sort of toy. And lo and behold, more stories came out yesterday. And you know what's an interesting one about this? Go rewind into this here. This being released by Samuel Luckhurst in the Manchester Evening News, and then from Dan Cansian over in the Daily Mail. So the main guy for the Daily Mail, when it comes to United now, is Chris Wheeler. And he didn't put his name on this article. It was given to somebody else, which kind of shows you the value that they put inside that article. Chris Wheeler didn't want to put that to his name. Nah, go somewhere else. Anyway, let's read through what it says, okay? Because it's just so entirely predictable that these come out, right? The day after we lose to City. Man United players expect Erik ten Hag to be sacked this summer, with the Dutchman squad anticipating Jim Ratcliffe will appoint a new manager. United's players are increasingly doubtful that ten Hag will be in charge next season. Still got the support of the dressing room. However, Mail Sport understands that many in the United squad believe it is likely there will be a change at the end of the season. And you know what? Honestly, I've read this article. I don't need to read the whole thing. You know what this reads like? I don't even know if I would call this leaks. This honestly feels like just kind of like an opinion more than anything else, like wrapped up in some sort of inside scoop. That's what it reads like. That's what it feels like. Man United play right now. Truth be told, all right. I honestly, if you were to ask me, do I expect Erik ten Hag to be in charge next season? I think I said yesterday. I said I think he is, but I'm properly on the fence. I'm sat there and I argued with everybody yesterday. Oh, get off the fence, Sam. No, man, I'm sat firmly on that fence pole's. That's exactly where I am. bang on the fence because I don't know. Half of me doesn't expect Erik ten Hag to be in charge next season. And it almost feels like this is just... There's someone down there saying it's based on assumptions. I think it's just based on... It just feels like an opinion being wrapped up inside some sort of, oh, this is what the leaks from inside the dressing room are saying, despite the fact that 2 paragraphs in, he says Ten Hag still has the support of the dressing room. It's just, this is the way. This is the way. It just feels like opportunism. That's what I would call it. Would you call it an agenda against our manager? No, I think this is just, again, I wouldn't say this is personal against Erik ten Hag. This is just the press continuing to feast on the corpse of Manchester United. And they will continue to do so. Mike, you're calling it an educated guess. It genuinely just feels like a bit of opinion rather than anything to do with player leaks. But it's no surprise that this comes out the day after Manchester United lose to City in the derby. The day after we beat Forest and we got through to the FA Cup quarter-final, I didn't hear anything here about Manchester United players expecting Erik ten Hag to be sacked. I didn't see the Manchester Evening News and the Daily Mail both reporting that Manchester United players were worried about running demands. Now, this isn't the first time that this has been reported. But this is man, I hate shit journalism. I really do. But it sells. It sells. And that's why it will never go away. Lots of you know by now, maybe not all of you do, but I did my NCTJ, the National... What's it stand for? National College for Training Journalists? I don't know. Anyway, I did my NCTJ course, which you need to pass before you become a journalist. I did my shorthand, which was the most ridiculous exam I've ever done in my life. And pointless, because I've never used it, by the way. Shorthand is what you use in court, because you're not allowed to use a phone. You're not allowed to use any recording material. You need to write down what's written, and you can't write quick enough. Hence why shorthand exists. Never used it once. I wanted to be a journalist, and just the reason this all exists is because this is the path that I've taken. That's why I call myself a digital journalist. I don't break stories. I don't speak about... I've never at any point have I ever said United People's TV understands. All right? I've never said, from what I'm hearing in the club, I will never do that. I'm not going to feed speculation like that. But I just sort of interpret everything out there. And that I think is why the community exists. Because if I didn't do this, how are you supposed to stay on top of all the news and all the different... Who are you supposed to trust? Who are you supposed to listen to? It's a minefield when it comes to Manchester United. Let me see what you're saying down there in the comments. All of our problems are Erik ten Hag's fault. All of them, says Thomas. It's a very interesting opinion there, Thomas, which I do not agree with in any way, shape or form. Sean, thank you so much, dude. You gifted 5 memberships. Big up to you. You've actually just been gifted one, Thomas. Make sure you take it back off, Thomas. I'm joking. I don't agree with that opinion, though. Alex, you sent a super chat. You said, I'd love for Jim Ratcliffe to come out and say, we're backing Erik ten Hag, to the players and say, you're either with us or you can leave. The process has only started. Now, I think... Who was it that spoke about it? Was it on... I think it was Andy Mitten. I was watching a little bit of his chat with Joe and Jay on Stretford Paddock yesterday. Always like listening to Andy Mitten. And he was speaking about Erik ten Hag. And he was saying that Ratcliffe and Ineos have been quite cool towards Ten Hag. And by that, he's referring to the fact that they've not completely distanced themselves from Erik ten Hag. They've not said, he can't be our manager next season. But they've not sort of pinned their colours to the mast or whatever it's called. They've not come out and said exactly what you said there. I personally feel, I said this a couple of weeks ago. I I still feel this is the case. I think there will be a statement from Manchester United before the end of the season either way. I don't see Man United and Ratcliffe, and more to the point, Ratcliffe, Ineos, Brailsford, the new structure in place. I don't think they're just going to wait until the end of the season to either say, we're supporting Erik ten Hag, he's going to be our manager next season, or that Erik ten Hag will be leaving Manchester United at the end of the summer, and end of the season, sorry. And I've explained to you exactly why I think that, and I think the wider context of what's going on with so much managerial change this summer. Barcelona looking for a manager, Bayern, Liverpool, maybe Chelsea, depending on what's going on with Poch. You never know. Maybe United in 2, maybe 4 of the 5 biggest clubs in world football. I just don't think that United can afford to sit and wait. And I'm going to move on to, because these next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting. I'm going to speak about Ashworth next, and also the head of recruitment. I'm going to go and read a few of your comments down here. Michael, you're saying the Discord link just says invalid or invite expired. I can never get onto it. Does anybody else have that problem? Because it still works for me. I don't get why it doesn't work for anybody else. It's a bit odd. What else are you saying down there? Sam, you've just said exactly what Laurie Whitwell said on Talk of the Devils. Haven't listened to the latest one, so I don't actually know. Ross, you're saying Jim Ratcliffe doesn't need to back him. He's given him his target, Champions League spot. Get it or you're gone. Even if he gets it, probably get the Van Gaal treatment. No, I think I don't think he will now. I'll be honest. Like looking at this league table, right? Let's quickly pull this up. I mean, it's not impossible, right? It's not impossible that Manchester United get into the Champions League this season, but it's looking really quite improbable. Let's pull this up here, right? Man United currently, where are we? 11 points behind Villa. 6 points behind Spurs, who've got a game in hand. So we are 11 points off 4th with a max of 33 to play. Now, there is a chance that 5th gets you a Champions League spot this year. There is a chance. It's not definite, right? It feels unlikely to me now. It feels very unlikely. What's our remaining fixtures? Let's have a look. Let's go on Man United's website. Let's quickly run through these fixtures. Right. Let's go full screen on this one. Just looking at the league. I'm not looking at anything else. So we've got Everton at home. It's not going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Early on a Saturday, there to ruin your whole weekend. Lovely. Brentford away. I'm not going to tell you what happened there before. Brentford are looking a bit shaky, though. Certainly far more shaky this season. Chelsea away. Well, I got no idea what to expect there. I'll be honest. None. Bournemouth away. They're pretty decent under Iraola. That's not an easy game. Newcastle at home. That'll be an interesting one. There's no gimmies here. Burnley at home, you might put down as a gimme. That's probably the only gimme I've got so far. But again, when it comes to United, gimmies don't really exist, do they? Crystal Palace away. Yeah, that's nowhere near a gimme. Arsenal, when they're in a title race, maybe not by that point, we'll find out. And then Brighton away to end the season. It's not an easy end to the season. Any way, shape or form. I don't personally see United getting in that top 4, which therefore means that Erik ten Hag has kind of failed on the objective that Ratcliffe has laid out. He said that top 4, finishing in the Champions League spots, is very important for Manchester United. Very important for our ambitions next year. Very important for FFP. Apparently, a few of you are having problems with the Discord link. Joe, if you're watching, or anybody, if you're watching or listening, can you have a quick look at that? See if that's why that's not working. It should be working. I've got no idea why it isn't. And if it isn't, then maybe that's a reason why some people can't get in to the Discord. But that's the link there. It should be working. I don't know why that wouldn't be working. But find out. And you're saying, Sam, if any are going to shove Erik ten Hag, it'll be Liverpool at home. Yeah, that game, the FA Cup game, is let's be honest, it's kind of our season in a game now. Top 4, it's very unlikely. If top 4 happens, it's going to be a spectacular failure from Villa at this point, and Spurs are going to have to collapse. Both of those things are going to happen at the same time. Apparently the link isn't working. It needs to be renewed. Okay, apologise, everybody. If you can just use the... One sec, let me go for that temporary one. Is that the link there? Actually, no, I think Alex has just put it down there. Right. I apologise, everyone. I didn't realise that the Discord link wasn't working. It should have been. I've no idea why it isn't. But you know what what Jim Ratcliffe has been saying about the style of play. This is really quite important. Garlic Bread Man, you sent a super chat down saying, feeling very dejected nowadays. We seem to be sleepwalking towards 6th. We're not sleepwalking towards 6th, man. We're like face first. We're like salmon diving into the pool into 6th place, which is a pretty drastic failure given how much has been spent. And I agree on that. We have regressed this season. I would agree on that. And Erik Ten Hag is far from blameless in this. Far from blameless. Yeah, I forgot. We've got Liverpool, of course, at home in the league too. Jeez. Yeah, this is... top 4 looks way out of... What would you put it down as a percentage? Percentage chance of Man United getting into the top 4 this season. A percentage chance of Man United playing Champions League football next season. What would you put that down as? I wonder what I would give it. John, you're going 30%. Josh, you're going for 30%. I don't think I'll go as high as 30%. Teclom, you're going 40%. Stu, you're going 25%. What about Facebook? Let me see what you're saying on Facebook, people. Ian Richardson, you're going 40%. Matt, you're saying 10%. Lynn, 10%. David, 70%. I want to go nowhere near that high. Back on YouTube, you've got 5% from John. Andrew Wright, you're going 25%. Gunkshy, you're going 20%. 20% feels about right. It's very unlikely. And if United do lose that FA Cup game against Liverpool, you might say that our season is effectively over by the 17th of... Do we play Liverpool on the 17th of March? I think we do. Paddy's Day. Anyway, going to this point here, we move on to what I would say is some positive conversations around Dan Ashworth and maybe the new head of recruitment here. Ratcliffe made it clear that the style of play at Manchester United will not be dictated by a manager anymore. Anybody who's brought into the club, manager, player, coach, everybody will be aligned to an overall vision that sits at the very top. This is where we want United to be. This is how we want United to play. And Dan Ashworth is a big part of that, of setting that overall vision. Now, what is the latest on Dan Ashworth? I'll run through the news here from the Telegraph here. With Dan Ashworth on gardening leave until the end of next year, Newcastle's board, they're talking about Joe Linton getting a new contract, all right? Amanda Staveley's taking over. She's also busy negotiating with United over a compensation package for Ashworth. And this is the important part here. Newcastle are adamant that Ashworth should not be allowed to play any role in Manchester United's summer recruitment, but could be willing to let him start before the end of this year as long as their rivals paid the right money. So that is what the word is coming out of Newcastle. That they do not want Ashworth to be involved in Man United's summer recruitment. Which can't really come as too much of a surprise, really. Because of the Glazers delaying everything. All right. Ineos and Ratcliffe, they weren't ratified until, was it Valentine's Day? I think it was Valentine's Day. 14th of Feb. All plans would have been in place for Newcastle for the summer. So they're clearly, they must just be worried. I don't know why they'd be worried. We won't be going after the same players that Newcastle go after. Maybe we will to certain extents. Sam Manny saying Newcastle are sore. They are sore. They are acting slightly childish compared to how City acted with Barada, and maybe to how Crystal Palace will act with Dougie Freeman, which I'll speak about next. But at the same time, I understand why Newcastle would be doing this. They would have been planning for this summer for a long time. Like, summer transfer plans aren't randomly made up in March. It's something that you, as soon as the summer finishes, you're planning for the next one straight away. But Newcastle do not want Dan Ashworth to be involved in the summer transfer window, which makes the appointment of our head of recruitment even more important. And that's where Dougie Freedman comes up and the conversation around Dougie Freedman. Now, Dougie Freedman is one name that's been on the list for a while. I did a video a long time ago now. Must have been, it feels like a month, 2 months now. And I spoke about Paul Mitchell. I spoke about Dougie Freedman. I spoke about, was it Paolo Maldini? I spoke about Andrea Berta from Atletico Madrid. I spoke about Atalanta's head of recruitment as well. Dougie Freedman is a name that has popped up a few times. Now, I'm going to run through this article from Miguel Delaney in The Independent, where he's suggesting that Dougie Freedman has been identified as the top target for a head of recruitment. Just in the same way that Dan Ashworth was chosen as a top target as a sporting director, he's now on gardening leave. We're going after him. Barada was chosen as a top target for a CEO, and we got him. Reports are suggesting that Dougie Freedman is our top target for a head of recruitment. United have identified Freedman as a top target, as I just said there. Former striker has developed a considerable reputation at Crystal Palace. His broader experience may also aid the current situation, as United want this position to be filled and in work quickly, due to the fact that both of the position's superiors have been placed on gardening leave. Now, that's an interesting point. I suppose we're going to find out. We've been waiting to hear about who could be the top choice for a head of recruitment position. Now, when Dougie Freedman was linked to Manchester United previously, and conversations existed around the sporting director position, because currently Dougie Freedman is a sporting director at Crystal Palace. And lots of United fans felt that that would have been an incorrect appointment if we were to go and bring in Dougie Freedman as a sporting director. I think a lot of those fears wouldn't exist if we just speak about Dougie Freedman from a head of recruitment perspective. He has done a lot of good work at Crystal Palace. Whether it's Olise, whether it's Eze, whether it's Adam Wharton, who's just been brought in from Blackburn Rovers, highly rated, whether it's Decore, whether it's Gallagher coming in on loan. The talent ID of Dougie Freedman is something that's gained him a massive reputation. And what I'm going to do at lunchtime today is I'm going to run through this in a bit more depth. I'm going to cover that Dougie Freedman story. It's not going to be a full deep dive into Dougie Freedman just yet, but I'll be honest, I'm going to start preparing one. Because we've been waiting for a name to sort of come up. We've been waiting for a name to rise to the surface. Lots of us wanted Paul Mitchell. I've already done a video on Paul Mitchell previously, and I still stand by the fact that he would be an incredible appointment. But if he didn't feel that position was correct for him right now, then, well, it's not going to be Paul Mitchell then. Tim, you're saying that, yeah, I think you're correct in saying that. I think with Paul Mitchell, it's more the structure. Because if Paul Mitchell was ever to come into Manchester United, he'd have to work underneath Dan Ashworth and underneath Omar Barada. Barada as CEO, Ashworth as sporting director and the head of recruitment. Whereas at Monaco, Paul Mitchell was the sporting director. So he was Monaco's version of Dan Ashworth. Now, again, when you think about it, given that Dougie Freedman is a sporting director at Crystal Palace, he would have to accept a slight change there. But maybe that's one that he'll be willing to. Now, Fergie has a soft spot for Dougie Freedman. So this is where the name link came a few months ago, kind of stemmed from that. But I'm going to go into it in more depth in my lunchtime video today. Tyler, you sent a super chat a while ago saying, Sam, is it Erik Ten Hag's failure or the player's failure? Dude, when you reach this point in time and that conversation exists, again, you're trying to put me in a box. You're trying to say, well, you've got to be either this side or that side. And it's never the case. I'm firmly in the middle because there are so many problems that have been caused by the players. But there are also quite a few problems that have been caused by Erik ten Hag. Both of them are at fault. There is not one player, one person at Manchester United that isn't at least partly responsible for Manchester United's problems. And this is what people try and do. You're either Ten Hag in, you're either Ten Hag out. Is it the player's fault? Is it the manager's fault? It's both. It's always all of them. Always. That's why we've never been able to really solve the problems, because when it comes to the problem at Manchester United, it always goes higher and higher and higher. When it comes to recruitment, boy, man, Ten Hag has had some serious misses, man. And again, you're looking at a manager who should never have had that power. A manager who should never have had that responsibility, because the structure exists at Manchester United that those responsibilities are taken away from him. He should never, ever have been allowed. Look, he could have wanted Antony. Absolutely. The Antony transfer is the one that's going to... is an £86 million stain that will, regardless of what happens next season with Erik ten Hag, if he does stay on as manager, he is going to have no overall say on recruitment. That ain't happening. All right? And if and this is a possibility, ladies and gents, Erik ten Hag goes, well, I don't want to accept that position. We'll shake our hands and I'll leave. That could happen because Erik ten Hag wanted that power. It's kind of a big reason why he didn't want to work with Ralph Rangnick at the start, because he wanted that overall say. But people that vibes, you're trying to throw Mason Mount in there. It's cool. You do you, bro. You can't throw Mason Mount in here. He's hardly even kicked the ball for United yet. It could well be the case in the goodness of time that it proves that Mason Mount was an incorrect use of funds. I would say it was a misappropriation of funds. I think everybody kind of knew at the time that if you're going to have 60 million, where should we be spending money? We should probably be spending that money on like a powerful all-purpose midfielder, or signing a ball-playing athletic centre-back rather than like an alternative to Bruno Fernandes. That's where that money should have gone. Casemiro, horrendous. Incredible signing for a year. Brilliant. That's not how you build long-term sustainability. That gives you the short-term fix. That's what that signing was. Because a year and a bit down the line, we need another midfielder like Casemiro. He was never an alternative to Frenkie de Jong. We crapped ourselves. And any signings below there, Onana, look, I've made my opinion clear on Onana, and I'm actually going to speak about him next. I think Onana will continue to grow in strength and confidence at Manchester United if we continue down that path of playing that style of football. If Ratcliffe and Ineos, who are going to be deciding the style of football now, if they decide, actually, no, we don't need to go down that path anymore, then maybe Onana is not going to be the right guy for us. And maybe that does change again. And then the rest of the signings down there, they're cheap enough that they're not going to really offend you that much. But some big misses up here, man. And I've said it a million times, I'll say it a million times more. You can measure the success of a team and the growth of a team by how well they do in the transfer market. And as you can see right here, Man United's inconsistencies are directly reflected in the market. We've had some big hits like Martinez. We've had a gem like Højlund who is going to come through and no doubt will become a great player for United. It kind of already has been in the second half of the season. Malacia, you're saying it's another joke. Malacia was a pretty decent alternative backup in the first season. Not one person complained about him. Did he look like he was going to be the new Luke Shaw? Maybe not, but he was 14 million. I think as an alternative, it was fine. He hasn't kicked the ball this year. That's just weird as hell. The injuries that he's had. But United's lack of consistency is directly reflected by how inconsistent we have been in the market. Now, that's a video unto itself. I might do that a little bit later this week. Today, I'm definitely going to be working on the Dougie Freedman video. But going back to what I was saying there about Onana, I thought this was a little curious conversation and talking point that we should have. There's certain things that you just don't notice, right? When you're watching, I'm not watching the game against City and looking for patterns of play and, well, sometimes I am, but not all the time. I get distracted by the actual game because I'm a fan. And there was a little interesting graph I wanted to show you here. So this is Manchester United in the first half, right? And these are Onana's passes. In that first half, Onana's passes were crucial. It was obviously in the build-up to Rashford's goal, but there were like 2, 3, 4 more like really good kicks from the hand from Onana. Those ones over the top, looking for Garnacho, looking for the runs in behind. Really, really impressive from Onana. And kind of a big reason as to why we had that counter-attack in the first half. Then look at how his passes changed in the second half. And I didn't really notice this in the game. But look at this. So you see how long Onana was going in the first half. Look how much that changed in the second half. And you can see that Man United came out with a slightly different approach. And Man United were trying to, at least, Onana was trying to, play out from the back with the ball. And we've done that all season long, by the way. We've had, I don't know why, I don't know whether it's, I mean, it has to be a coach. It has to be from coaching. The Man United, when we play out from the back, we typically go left. We kind of rarely go right. Anytime we play out from the back, even without Shaw and without Martinez, the patterns kind of always go towards Evans or Lindelof, not really through Maguire or Varane. And again, it's a bit weird because Dalot is probably one of the better players when it comes to the ball at his feet. Onana was probably one of the only positives that you can take out of that game, which is a weird thing to say considering we lost 3-1. But he actually showed some quality, some confidence. And I've told you this, there was an interview that he gave in the build-up to the game where he said, look, I kind of feel a bit more like myself now. A bit more like the confident goalkeeper that we wanted to see, that we hoped we would see. And I hope that that continues between now and the end of the season, because if United are going to get anywhere near sneaking into the Champions League spots, I guarantee you Onana plays a massive role in that. And given that it was him that effectively threw us out of the Champions League in the first place, we'll call it quits on that if he manages to do it. But I just thought that was an interesting little snippet there. David, nice to see you there joining as team captain. Thank you very much, dude. Oh, by the way, this is a nice little teaser. I'm thinking maybe that I might launch some members-only merch designs privately in the Discord for you, because then I'll be able to test out all the delivery of the new shop, all the setup, the packaging, all that jazz. So maybe keep your eyes peeled over the next couple of weeks. I might be able to do some members-only stuff in the Discord, so we can start to see the new merch launching, because we've got some new. I can't wait to launch it, man. I've waited so long for this. I really, really have put so much effort into the design as well. But yeah, let me see what you're saying about Onana in the comments. I know not everybody shares the same opinion on Onana. I can't remember who it was down there saying, oh, Onana's crap as well. Again, just some United fans, it staggers me that some fans are able to make up their mind so confidently, so quickly. And you're saying we had a period of decent possession later in the game, but we can't capitalise. Our movement's slow and predictable. Yeah, but even when we finally had a bit of possession, as soon as it got towards the front three, you're like, meh. And it just had to come backwards. And then even when we built up and we built it back towards the front three, again, it went, meh, hit the wall, came back. Sam, do you think, or Dan, you're saying, Sam, do you think all the extra responsibilities Ten Hag has had to take on could have affected his transfer choice, i.e. not having the right amount of time to study a player? I've said this, you're completely right there, Dan. I've said this 100 times. People don't want to hear it. Erik Ten Hag, and this is why Erik Ten Hag should never, ever, ever be in control of transfers. He has got a million other things that he needs to focus on. You therefore cannot be an expert at recruitment. You can only go with what you know, what you think is safe. Now, I know Anthony. Yeah, he'll probably do. Go on then, bring him in. And no one else is there to do the job. No one else is there to be the head of recruitment. So you kind of just have to trust the instincts of the manager, which is a very risky game. Very risky game. Ross, you're saying down there, Erik Ten Hag bought players he already played with. What more time could he have needed? What he's saying there is that the only reason we looked at players that Erik Ten Hag knew is because that he didn't have any, he shouldn't have any time. It's not, Erik Ten Hag is not a bloody chief scout. Erik Ten Hag is not a head of recruitment. He can't be looking through swathes of data, which is so crucial in making and identifying perfect signings these days. You might not like it, but it's true. The eye test is also a massive part of it, but data's huge. A manager of a football club does not have the time anymore to be able to identify those signings. That's why they have whole teams to do it. Erik Ten Hag can have like a bit of a final say on saying, okay, maybe not on this player. But we didn't have anybody else we could trust. So we had to keep going back to Ajax. 60 mil, 70 mil, 80 mil, 86 mil. We had no alternative. That's not Erik Ten Hag's fault. That's down to a poor structure. What Erik Ten Hag is at fault for is suggesting Anthony in the first place. That's bad talent ID, right? And you're saying the one thing that stood out on Sunday that we never saw with De Gea was, Onana command in the box. I think I said this in the live show yesterday. I'm pretty sure that Onana made 8 high claims against City. That means the ball comes into the box, Onana stepped off his line and he's come forward. He's either punched, he's caught, he's claimed a ball. Physically, he's going, no, sod that. That's my ball. I think he did it 8 times in that game. And that was as much as De Gea had in his 2 previous seasons at United. And that was always a criticism of his game. So let's give Onana his stripes for that. As having a commanding goalkeeper can make a big, big difference. Set pieces are so dangerous at United, but if we have a goalkeeper that really commands his box, and he won't come out and be able to claim every cross and punch every cross, but maybe if you have a goalkeeper that comes and just deals with 1 in every 3 or 1 in every 4, you're really going to minimize how many set pieces you concede, because you're going to have this physically dominant goalkeeper that just comes in, catches it. It makes a big, big difference. It really, really does. Now, let's move on to a important talking point, and it's something I've said before. When it comes to Jean-Claude Blanc, I've already done, probably one of my favourite deep dives was on Jean-Claude Blanc, when I was speaking about him coming in as a CEO. Now, he's not a CEO per se, because, of course, Omar Barada is. I don't even know if Jean-Claude Blanc's going to have an official title at Manchester United. I think he's just going to be in and around, because he's the CEO. Was he the director of sport for Ineos? I think he's the director of sport, actually, overseeing all of their sporting operations. Now, a big thing when it comes to Jean-Claude Blanc's knowledge base, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, he's really going to be an important person when it comes to what happens at Old Trafford, or what happens to Old Trafford, whether it's a new stadium, whether it's a redevelopment, whether it's a refurbishment, the whole regeneration of that whole area and part of Manchester. Jean-Claude Blanc is going to be a big, big voice in that. Now, he did a big interview with, I think it's La Tribune. I think it's a French newspaper. I could cover it in a video unto itself, but I don't think it's got enough information to warrant a whole video. But there's a point here that where he speaks about the new stadium. Does the construction of modern infrastructure remain the key to the development of clubs? And I think this is an interesting little point that he makes here. The key is the quality of experience for the fans. We must have the courage to invest in infrastructure rather than in players. This creates additional income, which allows reinvestment in talent. I started my career following the construction of the temporary stadium and the opening of the Albertville Games. At Juve, he helped with the creation of their new stadium at PSG. You know what's going on there. As far as I know, PSG don't own their stadium. I think Paris does, and they want to buy it from them, and there's huge problems. And I'm not sure whether they can get it or get ownership of it. He goes, look, at Manchester United, we are watching. Old Trafford has been at the forefront for years, but it's catching up. Modernisation or a new Old Trafford, all options are on the table. We see that things are moving. Tottenham, new stadium. Spurs finishing theirs. Barca's working on it. Paris might indeed have one day. But just his points there that we must have the courage to invest in infrastructure rather than just in players. I just get just a little spidey senses. We'll find out, I suppose. I don't know whether United will actually announce whether there's a project manager per se. But it strikes me that Jean-Claude Blanc's going to have a lot of input, direct input into whatever happens to Old Trafford. Because he is a really good person to lean on because of his involvement in Juve, because of his time at PSG and all the conversations around the new stadium there. I just think he's going to be a really important person in this whole thing. Just what my spidey senses are saying. If I can ask you quickly, ladies and gents, before we wrap up the show, I've got two more talking points here. Can you please drop a like on the video? It does make a big difference. And if you can, and you haven't already subscribed, become a subscriber. Join the United People's TV community. I'd love to have you as part of it. Now, quick little point about two players. Inside of United is he's been pretty damn on point. I'm trying to think of what news he first came out with that he was bang on. Was it about Martinez? I don't know. He's been pretty on point when it comes to injury news across the course of the season. And he's saying this about two things. Rumours that Marcus Rashford is injured are untrue. He did have a knock, but he's training. And Rasmus Højlund is being looked at this week for a possible return against Everton. Now, my instinct there would be, I don't want to rush Højlund back. All season long, I wonder if at any point Rasmus Højlund has been at 100% for United. He probably was for a couple of games during that stint where he scored, I think it was 7 and 6. I think he was playing like 87, 80, pretty much the full 90 every single game. But he came to the club with injury problems. His game time was managed. I personally don't think I would risk Rasmus Højlund against Everton. If I'm looking at bring Højlund back against Everton, he plays 60 minutes, tweaks his hamstring, and then he misses that game against Liverpool. And then he probably misses the league game against Liverpool as well. Much rather Højlund be fit for those. And the suggestions are, by the way, ladies and gents, that today Rasmus Højlund is going to be named Premier League Player of the Month. Hell yeah, man. Such an incredible show of resilience from such a young player in such a high pressure boiler situation that is Manchester United. To go 14 games without scoring, to then scoring 7 and 6, and to then, by the looks of things, being named Player of the Month. It's richly deserved, and that's the mentality that we need in every single one of these players at Manchester United. Like, they have to be ready to go to war. They have to be able to go through the trenches and come out the other side soaking, but then dry off and then be even better. At Manchester United, a lot of the players are the opposite. When they go in the trenches, they drown. They stay in the trenches. They can't come back out of it. As soon as they get one punch to the gut, one body blow, they're down on one knee. It's that sort of strength of mentality. We need that so much more. So much more at United. Look, I enjoyed that show. Last couple of minutes, I'll open up the floor. You can ask me anything you want, and I'll try and answer as best as I can. But to round up here, these leaks seem like nothing more than an opportunity to kind of, it's presented more like an opinion that's going to resonate after a defeat. These sorts of articles always do. They always get picked up, and they always only come out after a defeat. You won't hear it. If we beat Everton at the weekend, you won't hear anything about players expecting Ten Hag to be sacked or players being angry at running. because it won't suit that environment. When United lose, the environment is ripe for these articles to exist. And it happens every time. So I think the reason I spoke about it in the show today is just be aware of it, peeps. Just be consciously aware of it. And you'll start spotting the patterns, right? You really will. Any news on the new training ground, says John? Nothing on that yet. I think United are a bit busy getting a new sporting director and a new head of recruitment. And then I wonder what the priority order is. In my opinion, the new training ground should be done before we do anything with a new stadium. I said that for quite a while, actually. What was going down here? Never got a notification, Sam. I'll have to restart. I thought you were telling me to restart there. Alex saying, any news on the debt? Have the club paid off the company credit card? Well, that's what happens, isn't it? They kind of recycle. They pay part off. When's the next Q2 results? I don't know what the year end is for United. Is it September, October? I don't know what the quarters are with United. So I don't know when the next results are out. If I'm honest, I think the only came out in February. I think the first ones. Sam, which out of the ECL winning teams do you think was better? Do you mean the Champions League? Mate, I loved the treble winning team was incredible. I just have more visceral memories of the 2007-8 teams, probably because I was older. I'll be honest. I have more direct visceral memories of watching those games, of watching those players. So it's probably just more like recency bias. But that team was incredible. Right, look, I'll wrap this up for now. I apologise to everybody if that Discord link isn't working. I didn't actually realise that it wasn't working for a lot of people. Madhouse saying, how's your walking getting along? It ain't going nowhere. I haven't put weight on my foot in 3 weeks. And I've got another 3 weeks before I can. And then after those 6 weeks, a long rehab begins. If I remember correctly, the rehab for my other foot took about 14 months-ish before I got to the point where I was confident on that foot again. Because it's about 5-6 operations all at once. It is a ridiculous operation. Ridiculous. Luckily, I've only got 2 feet and I haven't got to do it again in the other one. Oh, I've already done it in the other one, so I can't do it 3 times. But big up to all of you. Thank you all for tuning in. I enjoyed the show. It was a good chat. I like to think so anyway. I'll be here at lunchtime today. I think you'll enjoy this video. I'm going to do it on Dougie Freedman. Going to start diving into what he's done at Crystal Palace, what he said in interviews, maybe about start of play. We'll do a little bit of research. Maybe we'll prepare a deep dive on Dougie Freedman as well. Make sure you subscribe. See you soon.